The movie begins with a man named Nils Dickman. He is a snowplough driver in a small, snowy mountain town, responsible for keeping the roads clear and safe. Nils's son, Ingvar, works in the cargo department at the local airport. On the night of the award ceremony, Ingvar is scheduled to work, so he isn't able to attend the celebration with his parents. After finishing his shift, Ingvar heads to the locker room to change his clothes. Meanwhile, Nils and his wife attend the award ceremony where Nils' dedication and hard work earn him the title of Citizen of the Year. On the other hand, two armed men abduct Ingvar as he leaves work, forcing him into a car. Inside the car, they inject him with a lethal dose of drugs. Ingvar's friend, Finn, is also in the car and looks badly beaten by the men. As the two men drive away with them, Finn manages to escape by taking advantage of a moment when the attackers are distracted. The men try to shoot him, but he runs away. The next day, Nils and his wife are devastated as they identify their son's body in the morgue. The police autopsy report concludes that Ingvar died of a drug overdose. Nils refuses to accept this, insisting that his son is not a drug addict. However, the police dismiss his concerns, telling him they have seen many similar cases where parents refuse to believe their children have drug problems. After leaving the morgue, Nils's wife is overwhelmed with grief, unable to comprehend that Ingvar might have been involved with drugs. Nils, though deeply shaken, admits that he had been busy with work and hadn't been as attentive to his son as he should have been, but he is certain Ingvar would never make such a mistake. After the funeral, a heartbroken Nils, overcome by despair, finds a gun at his workplace and prepares to end his life. Just as he is about to pull the trigger, Finn, who had been hiding nearby, reveals himself. He confesses that he never intended for things to turn out this way. It is then that Finn reveals he works for a drug gang and knows about the drug shipments that come through the airport. Finn explains that he stole a packet of drugs from one of the shipments. When the gang noticed the missing goods, they suspected both Finn and Ingvar, as Ingvar had handled the luggage that contained the drugs. In reality, Ingvar had no knowledge of the drugs. Nils, furious after hearing this, presses Finn for more information. Under Nils's relentless questioning, Finn reveals the name of a gang member, Jappa, who had contacted him. That night, armed with the information from Finn, Nils sets out to find Jappa. Nils meets Jappa and asks him if he knows Ingvar, but Jappa pretends not to know him. When Jappa realizes that Nils is looking for trouble, he threatens him by pointing at the gun on his waist, suggesting that Nils should go home and stay there. Seeing the gun, Nils takes a couple of steps back, leading Jappa to believe he is afraid. However, unexpectedly, Nils lunges forward and punches Jappa, catching him off guard. He continues to hit him until Jappa's face becomes a bloody mess. Finally, in desperation, Jappa confesses that he had received orders from Ronaldo to stage Ingvar's death to appear as a drug overdose. Recognizing that Jappa is no longer useful, Nils kills him, and Nils wraps his body in fine wire mesh. Then, he disposes of it under a waterfall, ensuring it will not be discovered. The swelling from the water and the small fish in the river will gradually consume the remains, keeping the body hidden. Then, we see a man named Graven who is heading to work. He sees his son Rune, who looks quite upset with something. Rune tells him that a boy named Jonathan in his school bullies him. Graven tells him to beat him and show him what it means to mess with you. During this, one of Graven's men tells him that Jappa has disappeared, and he gets mad at him for talking about business in front of Rune. Meanwhile, Nils returns home to his wife, but she is mad at Nils for disappearing like that. That night, Nils cuts off the barrel of a long gun in his workshop. He then takes the modified gun to a location where Ronaldo frequently goes. When Ronaldo arrives alone, Nils attacks him, catching him off guard. Under the threat of Nils's weapon, Ronaldo admits that it was Strike's order to kill Ingvar. However, he remains silent about Strike's whereabouts. It isn't until Nils knocks out two of Ronaldo's teeth with the gun that he reveals the information. Ronaldo discloses that Strike works at the airport and is responsible for bringing in the drugs and taking the money out. Nils verifies Strike's identity from a photo and, after confirming the information, kills Ronaldo before disposing of his body down the waterfall. Meanwhile, we see Graven with his ex-wife as they discuss Rune's custody. Graven asks her to leave Rune with him as he can give him everything he wants in life, but his wife tells him that he is a terrible father and she won't accept this. Then, She leaves and tells him that her lawyer will get in touch with him soon. Nils drives his snowplow to follow Strike, who has just received a shipment of drugs. To avoid raising any suspicion, Nils takes a side road for a little while. After ensuring he's out of sight, he suddenly appears again and blocks Strike's path, creating a barrier that prevents Strike from moving forward. Nils gets out of his snowplow and walks up to the front of Strike's car. He pretends to back up, making it look like he is just trying to get away. But then, without warning, Nils launches a surprise attack on Strike. He catches Strike off guard and starts hitting him. Nils strikes hard, leaving Strike's beard bloodied and bruised. Even in this vulnerable state, Strike refuses to tell Nils who his boss is, keeping the secret tightly guarded despite the beating he just took. Exhausted from the struggle and realizing that Strike's resistance is tougher than he anticipated, Nils decides to change his approach. He empties all the drugs from Strike's car and lets them spill onto the snow, watching as the packets scatter across the white surface. With 3 gang members gone and 15 kilograms of drugs now missing, Nils understands the gravity of the situation. He realizes that such bold actions can only be taken by another gang, the Serbs, known for their fearlessness and ruthless reputation in the drug trade. The Serbs bring drugs to the area every week, which makes them a big problem. Graven, the leader of the gang, tells his men to go to the airport and catch one of the Serbs to find out important information about their drug operations. They manage to catch a Serbian who has just received a shipment. Even though they try to get him to talk by using harsh methods, he refuses to say anything. Graven gets very angry because they aren't getting any answers. In his rage, he shoots the man, killing him instantly. After hearing about the murders, Nils feels lost and desperate for answers. He goes to find his brother, Eagle, who knows a lot about the criminal world. Nils hopes that Eagle can help him uncover some important information about what happened to Ingvar. Eagle answers Nils's call and quickly gets to work. He makes a few phone calls to his old contacts in the underworld. After some digging, he finds out that Graven, the current leader of the gang, is the one behind Ingvar's death. Eagle has a history with Graven. He used to work for Graven's father before he took over the gang. However, when Graven became the boss, Eagle decided to leave that dangerous life behind. Now, he realizes that he has to confront his past to help his brother and seek justice for Ingvar. Eagle knows how powerful Graven is and warns Nils that even though he has already killed 3 gang members, trying to take down Graven would be a big mistake. It's dangerous to go after someone like him. But Nils is determined to continue his mission, no matter the risks. Seeing that he can't change Nils's mind, Eagle reluctantly decides to help him find a hitman. They work together to gather the money needed to pay for this dangerous job. However, after getting the reward, the hitman betrays them. Instead of doing what he was hired for, he sells Nils's information to Graven, putting them both in even greater danger. After Graven receives the information he was looking for, he quickly kills the hitman to eliminate any loose ends. Shortly after, Graven's men find Eagle, and he realizes there's no way out of this situation. Accepting his fate, Eagle decides to take the blame for everything, including the deaths of the 3 gang members Nils killed. Eagle explains that he has held a grudge against Graven's father for a long time because he took his wife away from him. He believes it's only right that the wrongs done by Graven's father should be avenged by his son. This sense of justice drives Eagle to protect Nils, even if it means sacrificing himself in the process. In this way, Eagle sacrifices himself for Nils, meeting his end at Graven's hands. Meanwhile, the police stumble upon the body of the Serbian man hanging from an elevation sign. They don't understand the importance of this death or its implications because the man Graven killed was the son of Papa, the leader of the Serbian gang. Furious and heartbroken, Papa vows to take revenge for his son's murder. He knows this act will spark a conflict, and he is determined to make Graven pay for what he has done. After burying his brother, Nils is consumed by grief and anger. He decides that the best way to take revenge is to kidnap Graven's son. He begins to watch the school where Graven's child goes, carefully planning his next move. Unbeknownst to Nils, Papa has the same idea. Fueled by rage over his own son's murder, he also targets Graven's child for kidnapping. After discovering that he had accidentally killed the son of a rival gang leader, Graven is frantic to make things right. He tries to appease Papa by sending the severed head of one of his subordinates as a peace offering, hoping to shift all the blame onto him. However, this gesture only fuels Papa's anger. Feeling disrespected and insulted, Papa rejects Graven's attempt to resolve the conflict with just one life. In a fit of rage, he kills the messenger who brought the head and immediately orders his men to kidnap Graven's son. Papa believes that the only way to truly avenge his own loss is to take Graven's child in return. Nils cleverly disguises himself as one of Graven's men and manages to grab Graven's son before Papa's gang can execute their plan. As Nils drives away with the boy, Papa's subordinates spot him and immediately start chasing his van, determined to get Graven's son back. Just as the chase heats up, a large truck unexpectedly blocks their path at a turn. This gives Nils the perfect chance to escape his pursuers and drive to safety. Now, with Graven's son in his care, Nils takes him to his home. Since his wife left him without saying goodbye, Nils has been living alone. The child quickly figures out that Nils isn't one of his father's men. Despite the scary circumstances, he stays surprisingly calm and even shows some curiosity about Nils and his surroundings. That night, as bedtime approaches, the boy asks Nils to tell him a bedtime story. Nils feels a bit lost for words and doesn't know any fairy tales, so he decides to read from the manual of the snowplough he operates. To his surprise, the child listens closely, completely captivated by the odd choice of reading material. Nils, who is usually tough and serious, finds himself amused by the situation as he reads about the snowplow's features and how it works. Meanwhile, Graven is on edge, anxiously waiting for any news about his missing son. He keeps checking his phone, hoping to hear from the kidnappers. Graven knows they will likely demand something in return for his son's safe return, and he is ready to meet any conditions. His only priority is getting his son back home safely, no matter the cost. At this time, a school guard sells important information to Graven for $30,000. He reveals that he saw the name Dickman printed on the van that took Graven's son. This name strikes Graven deeply because Dickman is the last name of Nils, his enemy. Learning that the kidnapper is connected to the Dickman family gives Graven a sense of relief. He believes that the situation has suddenly become easier to handle. Nils, meanwhile, calls Graven and demands that he come alone at night. He warns that if Graven doesn't comply, he will destroy the ticket to their meeting. Graven, determined to find his son, traces Nils's address and drives to his house. However, when he arrives, he finds no one there. The gang members, frantic for answers, find a photo of Nils at his workplace and rush to that location. Unbeknownst to Graven, a close friend of his has quietly informed Papa about Graven's whereabouts. This betrayer turns out to be one of Graven's own subordinates, who is seeking revenge against his former ally for reasons that have been building up over time. At this time, Nils is taking Graven's son on an adventure to experience the snow shovel. As they drive, a local resident informs Nils that someone has been spotted near his house. This news sends a wave of panic through him. He realizes that Graven will soon uncover his workstation and that time is running out. Understanding the urgency of the situation, Nils quickly prepares for the upcoming confrontation. Meanwhile, Graven's son hides under the snow shovel, determined to protect himself. He's armed and ready to fight if necessary, but when Graven's subordinates arrive, they are too quick and skilled. Despite the boy's bravery and readiness, he is easily captured without a single shot being fired. As Graven thinks he has the situation under control, Papa arrives with a mission to kill him. Chaos breaks out as three men, Nils, Graven, and Papa, struggle for their sons. In the midst of the fight, Graven's and Papa's men exchange blows, sustaining injuries as tensions run high. Amidst the chaos, Nils spots Graven trying to escape in his car. Seizing the opportunity, he drives the snow shovel toward a nearby tree and knocks it down, effectively trapping Graven's vehicle in place. In a moment of desperation, Papa takes a shot at Graven and kills him. Then, he gets into the shovel with Nils and they drive back home. They sit together, exhausted and defeated, reflecting on their tragic circumstances. Each has lost a son, and as they sit in silence. Meanwhile, the police arrive and investigate the situation, and we see Rune safe and sound as he is taken by the police. This is where the movie ends. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.